Shubhadeep sir, I think the live streaming has begun.
Yeah, you are good to go.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Institute of Chinese Studies, New Delhi, I warmly welcome you to the second thematic panel for our 15th flagship All India Conference of China Studies. The conference is being organized by ICS in partnership with the Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, the Guwahati University, the Omeo Kumar Institute of Social Change and Development, and the India office of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. I, Anushka Saxena, am working with ICS as a research intern, and I shall be the MC for this session today. The theme of the conference this year is Connected Geographies and Cultural Interfaces. This particular session will focus on the theme Northeast India and China, Cultural and Educational Interfaces. Without further ado, allow me to introduce our eminent panelists for the session. Joining us as chair today is Professor Avijit Banerjee, who is a professor, Cheena, Bhavana, Visva-Bharati University, Santiniketan, and an adjunct fellow at the Institute of Chinese Studies, New Delhi. Joining us as speaker is Professor Daveirou Lanamai, who is an assistant professor in Chinese at the Department of Foreign Languages, Tezpur University. The topic of their presentation is Influence of Chinese Vloggers in Manipur, a study on the vlogs of Li Chi and Diana Xiaoge. Joining us also as speaker is Ningshen Zingjarwon, who is an M.Phil student at the Center for Chinese and Southeast Asian Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. The topic of her presentation is Tracing Folk Ideas and Worldview in Folktales, a comparative analysis of some Chinese ethnic minorities and the Meiteis of Manipur. Joining us also as speaker is Professor Shyamkumar Ningthoujam, who is a guest faculty at the Department of Foreign Languages, Manipur University, Imphal. The topic of his presentation is Chinese language education in India's Northeast region, opportunities and challenges. And joining us as discussant for the session is Professor M. Sadananda Singh, who is assistant professor at the Department of Manipuri, DM College of Arts, Dhana Manjuri University, Imphal, and former visiting fellow at the University of Missouri. Each of the speakers will be allowed 15 to 18 minutes for their presentation. The complete bios of our speakers can be perused in the conference brochure on our website, which I shall also be sharing here on the chat box. Before we initiate the proceedings of the session, I request the audience to follow some housekeeping rules. All participants are requested to stay muted during the presentations. Questions and comments can be posted in the chat box at any time during the event, or one can raise their Zoom virtual hand during the interactive session. Please unmute yourself only when called upon by the facilitator or the chair of the session to do so. With this, I now hand over the floor to our chair, Professor Banerjee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, our ICS. First, I want to thank Institute of Chinese Studies for inviting me as a speaker and the partner institutes. So the 15th AICCS, the ICS has been working very wonderful for the last several years in promoting the Chinese studies throughout India, and they have reached to various places, and this time they have also reached to the Northeast. So this session is I think it's a wonderful session. We have three different types of lecture today, three presentations. Before that, I want to say that both the countries, the neighbors, India and China, they have a long history of interaction, which have influenced large number of people from both the countries. These influences can be seen even now among the people living in India's northeastern region and also in China's border region. If we look at Yunnan, which has built an important bridge of China for cooperating with the countries of South Asia, we can see that Yunnan is considered as a pearl, as a shining pearl in China's cultural treasure house. Cashing on the geographical advantage, there is a huge potential for cooperation between the northeast region of India and Yunnan province of China. Both the places have have rich cultural heritage. Talking about the Northeast India, we see that long back in 1987, in a symposium on South Asian ethnic issues by the Chinese Institute of South Asian Studies in Kunming, eminent scholars like Tu Tang Li proposed the reinforcement of research on Northeast Indian region. My point is that the Chinese, long back in 87, this is before Rajiv Gandhi's visit to China in 1988, has pointed out that there is need for more interaction, more research on India's Northeast region. Later on, we have seen many other scholars have wrote very many articles, books on China's Northeast India, although most of them are in the language, Chinese language. So the interaction between the two countries, there are interaction in various parts of India, but also in Northeast India, if we look at the food habits, if we look at the customs of our people, then we find many similarities with the people of China, especially staying in the border region. Today, these three topics we see that each topic there is one on related to the society, the blogs, which is a very, we can say, a very hot topic today. The blogs, both in China and India, are very popular. We have another important topic on the comparative analysis of some Chinese ethnic minorities, the folk tales. If we look at the ancient history of India and China, we know how Buddhism has totally influenced the Chinese literature, the growth of strange tales, the motifs. If we look at this, then we find that number of influences of India on the Chinese literature. So this will be definitely a very interesting topic in this session. The third topic on the Chinese language, the spread of Chinese language, which is definitely another topic that we are talking about today. So is it necessary for the Chinese language to study in India? Definitely. We will see how the speaker, how this third speaker from Shyamkumar, Professor Shyamkumar, he will be speaking on this, that not only in other parts of India, his focus is also on the Northeast India, how this language is being spread and how we can say strategically this is also very important for our young generation to learn the language. So before making any other comments, now I will request our first speaker, Daveirou Lanamai, Professor Lanamai, who is an assistant professor, to make our presentation.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. So a very good afternoon, and thank you, Chair. I would also like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to AICCS teams and the organizers for giving me this platform. My today's presentation is titled Influence of Chinese Bloggers in Manipur, a study on the blogs of Ziqi and Xiaoge. So in general, vlogs are referred to a set of videos that provides information on a particular topic and also act as a medium to disseminate social, cultural, and political annotations, news feeds, lifestyles, adventures, etc. through various social networking sites. With rapid development of internet and technologies, blogging can be seen as a booming phenomenon that has brought many changes in the life of an ordinary man. Duffy, in one of his papers, suggests that bloggers are often projected as individuals just like us, with whom the viewers can build their trust and confidence, ultimately making them more real and authentic. So at present, various social media space has become a platform to new cultural forms where an average individual can express daily experiences, and platform like vlogging has credited even the rural populations to represent their voice instead of relying only on the professional media. Examples of such phenomenal rural content creators are Chinese bloggers Li Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge, who has earned widespread popularity across the world. So taking such reality into account, the paper examines the influence of Chinese bloggers Li Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge in Manipur, based on their popularity, and it will also look at the forms of appreciation and cultural appropriation, keeping in mind the social, cultural, and political world of the viewers from Manipur. It will also look into the motives and motives behind localization of the vlog contents and how the viewers relate to their sense of identity through these vlogs. The favorable position received by the vlogs from viewers in Manipur lies in paradox given the unstable India and China bilateral relations in recent times. So moving on to the Li Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge. Li Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge are well-known Chinese bloggers who have millions of followers both in China and around the world. And by 2017 and 18, with their debut on YouTube, they gained a household name even among the international audience. Moreover, in 2021, Li Ziqi entered the World Guinness record for having most subscribers for Chinese language channel on YouTube with over 16 million followers. At present, she has more than 17 million followers. Likewise, Dianxi Xiaoge has more than 9 million followers on YouTube. So Li was born as Li Jiajia in Sichuan province, and she's a Chinese country life and food blogger. Likewise, Dianxi Xiaoge, whose real name is Tu Menghua, was born in Yunnan province, and her blogs also focus on rural life of Yunnan, mostly revolving around her childhood home and different cuisines from various ethnic groups of Yunnan. Both these women were once migrant workers known as Nong Min Kung in Chinese and had returned to their respective hometowns. Their videos depict quiet, idyllic life of ordinary individual in rural China, and their understanding of urban and rural lifestyles makes it possible for them to bring out the best of a rural pastoral lifestyle using sophisticated technology and captivate their viewers. Supplemented by their skillful culinary art, the contents of Li Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge's blogs are engaged with natural world of the rural areas and the mundane, domestic and agrarian life of the people. Moving away from the gravity of political discourse and the social anxieties of the present world, where the minds are constantly bombarded with social, political, and economic upheavals, they have provided a space to pause and enjoy a self-reliant, idyllic life rooted in nature, creating a sense of nostalgia and a soothing sense of hope for the viewers. Though they have huge fan base in China, the vloggers are not the most popular web celebrity at home. It is argued that their demand internationally has brought them under greater spotlight. And there are sections of Chinese who are endorsing the bloggers for propagating of Chinese culture to the outside world. Besides, the endorsing of Li Ziqi to become the cultural ambassador, which was supported by the Chinese state-owned TV CCTV, have gathered more attention both locally and internationally. However, there are also many who are quite skeptical on the authenticities of their video contents, which are produced with the support of a professional team working in the background, monetizing their popularity and sell of their factory-produced merchandise through e-commerce platforms. Additionally, there are some who feel that such contents intensify negative stereotypes of rural China, with huge debate criticizing such bloggers for not promoting the urban and high-tech advancements of China. However, interestingly, as seen from the responses from international communities, there seems to have a favorable and appreciation of this side of Chinese culture, enjoying the beauty and releasing the calm life of rural China. So now coming to the next point, looking at people and culture of Manipur, drawing a comparison of Sichuan province and Yunnan province, where the bloggers are based, with Manipur, a northeastern state of India, can be quite ambitious and challenging. However, certain similarities can be developed from the blogs of Li Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge and set up an assumption why the youths of Manipur were able to comfortably localize the contents of these bloggers. Now, Manipur is popularly known as the land of jewels, and it lies in the extreme northeastern part of India, bordering Myanmar. A homogeneous term to define the state of Manipur is next to impossible, since the state is inhabited by various ethnic groups with distinct culture, language, religion, and tradition of their own. Some of the major ethnic groups of Manipur are the Meiteis, Meitei Pangals, Nagas, and Kukichin groups. And the distinction among the people can be made through their language, customs and traditions, food habits, etc. And the vibrancy and appreciation of diversity among the ethnic groups are laudable. However, in the backdrop of such reality, the state is also marred by a series of struggles for identity, land ownerships, fight for autonomy along ethnic lines, often resulting to inter-community conflicts. For decades, the state has witnessed countless burns, strikes, protests disrupting the normalcy on a daily basis. And according to Worldview, such mass incidents are the outcomes of unequal treatments, lack of justice, issues of mistrust and lack of confidence and frustration on the system. And such mistrust can even be seen through the ban of screening Hindi films and Hindi satellite channels in the state, citing that Hindi films encourages cultural imperialism and undermines the language and culture of the state. However, in the backdrop of such chaotic situation, the youths and younger generation of the state seems to have caught up under the influence of different cultures like the Korean wave to identify themselves with a peaceful and developed country, leaving aside the outcomes of the influence. While the consumption of foreign culture in Manipur is not a new phenomenon, it is worth noting that with the steady spread of internet connectivity, even in the rural areas, and access to affordable mobile phones like the Chinese-made mobile phones, there is a rapid rise in mobile phone users and dependency on virtual life, which is again proliferated by the COVID-19 pandemic. And a new form of reality seems to be springing up from the stage. The internet has provided them a utopian world to escape from their realities, while at the same time giving them hope to bridge the gap with the outside world through virtual platform. So under such a paradoxical scenario, observing the growing presence of Chinese culture in a region full of contradictions is a task that needs a careful approach. The appreciation of various forms of Chinese culture and acceptance of a positive image of China in the region must be studied through a nuanced understanding of the cultures practiced by the people of the state. It can be understood that the spread and appreciation of Chinese food cultures or rural pastoral lives portrayed in the vlogs of these two women can be seen as a form of nostalgia, a reassertion of their racial and food identity, and space for exploring opportunities. Now, coming to the understanding of Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge in Manipur, we can all agree that blocks of Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge are appreciated by people belonging to different race and creed. Likewise, the engagement with their vlogs in Manipur is quite foreseeable, although the enthusiasm behind such engagement can be different. In this section, we will try to understand the reasons for engaging with such blogs through interaction with media consumers in the state. However, it should be noted that the responses could be a result based on assumptions of a select group with whom I have interacted, and so by no means claim a uniform acceptance of such proposition. Some of the reasons are, number one, some suggest that the racial proximity with and the social cultural practices of the Chinese portrayed in the vlogs are a major factor in identifying with the contents of the vlogs. One reason why many viewers from Manipur are captivated by the contents of the vlogs is that they feel the racial affinity with the vloggers and their lifestyles bear uncanny resemblance with themselves, their day-to-day activities, and their way of life. Secondly, association of food to one's cultural and social identity. Kikon argues that most of the migrants from Northeast residing in different metro cities of India, besides facing racism based on their physical features, another form of racism centers around their choice of food, such as fermented and non-vegetarian food items. Manipur, along with the other states in Northeast India, is well known for their unique flavor of food and exotic cuisines. In the state of Manipur, appreciation of various foods and from different ethnic groups is one binding factor that the communities at large love to uphold, leaving aside their social political differences. So with deep connection and love for their cuisine, for many migrant youths settled in major cities of India, where they have to compromise and shun their food choices in the face of racism, the vlogs of these Chinese bloggers create for them a sense of nostalgia and a reassertion of their racial and food identity. For many of the respondents, the videos of Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge preparing similar kinds of food from their hometown using similar cooking and preparation methods makes them regain their confidence and a sense of pride for their traditional and regional cuisines, which otherwise are usually used in discreet in order to avoid unnecessary attention that can sometimes even lead to altercation with their landlords, flatmates, or neighbors in the cities. Thirdly, while many of the viewers are unaware of personal information and background of the vloggers, those who have knowledge about the vlogger's personal life, they tend to develop a certain kind of admiration, especially after the announcement of countrywide COVID lockdown in March 2020. A wave of migrant youths returned to their hometowns, many of them leaving behind their means of livelihood in the metro cities. So while interacting with such group of people, they shared that the vlogs of these ordinary rural women gives them hope and aspiration to get back on their own feet. And for them, Li Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge are role models living the life they wished and longed for. And now, but the videos of these two women have very different effects on the youths who resides in the state. To them, the activities and the contents of the videos are a replica of their lifestyle being shown to a wider platform. Their mannerism, sharing of familial values, their surrounding environment filled with natural resources gives them a sort of assurance that the world they live in, away from the facilities and countless opportunities of urban life, can still be portrayed, admired, and become an ideal place for many. They describe that most of the activities shown in the videos, such as preparation of meals for the entire family, picking vegetables and herbs from gardens, preservation and fermentation of foods, doing farm works, and normal daily job of their ordinary mothers, sisters, daughters, or wives. And on addressing the issue of India-China relation vis-a-vis the development of a positive image for Chinese cultures through these vlogs, many came up with interesting responses. And for numerous youths who have faced certain forms of racial discrimination in major cities, in the form of derogatory and racial name callings like Chinky, Chinese, Momo, and even Corona since the outbreak of COVID pandemic, they replied that though they do not endorse or sympathize with China or are interested in the geopolitical situation of India and China, neither do they feel they belong to India, as they never felt accepted when they move out of their native place. So these are some of the reasons that how the youths of the state are able to relate with the vlogs. Now, coming to the conclusion, the popularity of Li Ziqi and Dianxi Xiaoge is a worldwide phenomenon, which has also captivated many viewers from Manipur. And though the study is conducted with select group of youths, a broad understanding can be drawn that besides enjoying the videos for its serenity and idyllic lifestyle, the proximity of racial affiliation and nostalgia has created an imaginary reality for them to fit into, far away from the issues of social, cultural, and political upheavals that they faced. The circulation and consumption of such contents in Manipur, and to consider it a movement as compared to the impact of other foreign cultures, such as the Korean wave, can be overrated. However, it may be understood that such study can help in better understanding the aspirations and hopes of the youth from this region and form a bridge to represent themselves in a wider platform. With this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you all.
Thank you. Very good presentation, and just on time you have finished it. So once again, thanks for that. So this is definitely a new thing that you have presented. Many of the people who are studying Chinese or with in this field. So the bloggers, how they can impact on society, on each other's society. There are also some, you have talked about, mentioned about the two bloggers. There are also some Indian bloggers in recent years who are having an influence in China, but the languages definitely have some problem with which, but they are also influencing the Chinese audience, the Indian bloggers. So the rural scenery that you have shown through these bloggers must have captivated the minds of the Manipuri people, and a lot of similarities we all know that with the Northeast Indian region and with the people of China in bordering our country. So definitely a new thing to be explored more. Many questions must be coming. A lot of very interesting topic. Okay, our next speaker. May I now request our next speaker, Ningshen, who will be speaking on pressing the folk ideas and worldview in folktale, a comparative analysis of some Chinese ethnic minorities and the Meiteis of Manipur. This is also another very interesting topic, because we all know that the folktales from India, China folktales, there has been a lot of comparative comparison and also influence Indian folktales, Indian folk stories long back for the last more than 2000 years of history, how it has influenced the Chinese literature. Okay, yes, please.
First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Shabri
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt, but I think you have a issue with the bandwidth. So if you may, then you can go ahead without using the video.
Yeah, that will be better.
Shubhadeep sir, I think we'll have to text the speaker because I don't think they can hear us as well.
Okay. We are on it. Give me 2 minutes.
Anushka, call her better. You can call her also and just inform her.
Yes, sir, absolutely. In the meantime, sir, if you'd like to move on to our third speaker.
Or wait for a minute. If you just
we
wait for a minute if she's there. Otherwise, we will move to the third speaker.
Avijit sir, we are we are trying to get in touch with her.
Okay.
So if you may, then we can go on to the next speaker, and when she joins, and then she can continue after the speaker.
Okay, fine. Then
okay.
So,
thank you,
so just we have some technical issues with Ningshen. So probably she will be coming soon. So our next speaker is will be speaking on Chinese language education in India's Northeast region, the opportunities and challenges. He's also from he's Shyamkumar, our guest faculty. So this is also a very interesting topic on the language. Chinese language for the last 20 years we have seen spreading in many parts of India. A lot of new universities, both central university, state university, and private institutes have also started. Mainly this is we can say a Chinese language fever. But in the last 20 years we have seen. Recently, after the last 2-3 years, there has been a lot of anxieties, worries about this language, whether the spread of Chinese language, whether we will study the Chinese language. So in this scenario, I think this is definitely an interesting topic, especially he will be also focusing on the Northeast region. Normally we focus on the other places, but Northeast region, how the language is being spread or what is the development of the language. So definitely another interesting topic. Yeah, please, I will request our next speaker, Shyamkumar, to please make his presentation.
Thank you, Chair. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, please carry on, please.
Let me just share my screen. Sorry for the delay. Sir, I hope my screen is also visible.
Yes, please.
Okay. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shyamkumar. I'm teaching Chinese language in the Department of Foreign Language, Manipur University, as a guest faculty. So it's an honor and privilege to be part of this event. Today, I'm going to present on the topic, Chinese language education in India's Northeast region, opportunities and challenges. So here is the outline of my presentation. Sorry, yeah. Here is the outline. I'm going to talk about the scenario of Chinese language teaching in the Northeast region, particularly in the Northeast region, but generally as a whole in India. So I will also discuss on the significance of Mandarin Chinese education, and major challenges of teaching the language in the region. Okay, Chinese. China is an immediate neighbor of India with over 1.4 billion people. And it also has the largest economy in Asia. It is the second largest in the world, which has $17 trillion GDP. And China shares a boundary of about like 3,488 kilometers with India. Okay, there is a famous quote that we can remember. Let China sleep, for when she awakes, she will shake the world. This quote is by Napoleon Bonaparte. And I think this quote is turning into reality.
Dr. Ningthoujam, sorry to interrupt. I think your slides are not changing.
Slides
We are still stuck
changing
on the first. Yeah.
Okay, then I will have to please.
I think you're already on the third slide, right?
Yeah, already on the third slide. Then let me
Sir, you
share
need
again.
to
Share the screen, right?
yes, sir, and thereby play the PPT like
Yeah.
it was just outline. Yes, sir.
Yes.
I think the slide is changing now.
Yes.
Yeah. According to China International Education Foundation, CIEF, under the Ministry of Civil Affairs, Government of the People's Republic of China, provides the Chinese language and culture teaching resources and services. It is also responsible for setting up of Confucius Institute globally to assist and promote Mandarin Chinese language education outside China. Here is some data. So according to this CIEF website, there are 550 Confucius Institute, 1,172 Confucius classrooms across 162 countries. So in Europe alone, there are 187 Confucius Institutes across 41 countries. So in Asia, there are 137. In North America, there are 144. And then in Africa, there are 62. And Oceania, 20. And South America, 124. Okay, UK has the largest number of Confucius Institute, which counts 30 and 4 Confucius classrooms. So South Korea has 24 Confucius Institute, Germany and Russia has 19, France has 17, Japan and Thailand has 14, and so on. So despite India being the immediate neighbor of China and second most populous country in the world, it has only 2 Confucius Institute and 1 Confucius classroom. Okay, let's move on to the status of Chinese language in global context. So it is a well-known fact that Mandarin Chinese has the largest number of native speakers across the globe. As of 2022, there are 920 million native Mandarin Chinese speakers. So Spanish ranks second in terms of having the largest number of native speakers, which has 475 million. So when we talk about the largest number of speakers, including non-native, so Mandarin Chinese ranks second, which has 1.11 billion. Sorry. Okay. According to 2 researchers, like 2 scholars, Ziqi and Ruzinek, so in 2012, they assert that although it may seem too early to state definitely what the global reach and appeal of Mandarin will be. So with the continuing economic decline of the US and the increasing growth of China and spread of Mandarin over the internet and media, the constantly growing number of schools teaching Chinese overseas, the Chinese Mandarin may equal English both in terms of number of speakers as well as language status. However, another scholar opines that, so in 2016, So he asserts that Mandarin Chinese, despite being increasingly used in China and international ethnic Chinese communities, cannot be considered as being a true lingua franca on the global stage. So even though it is unlikely that Mandarin Chinese can become the global language like English, some scholars discuss its potential to become one, which implies that the language has earned quite an important place in the global stage. So let's move on. So here are the universities in India which offers Chinese language courses. So altogether there are 15 as far as I know. And out of these, 10 are central universities, 3 are public state universities, and there is one, the K.R. Mangalam University is the only private universities which offer degree course in Chinese. Okay, as I have already mentioned that according to this website, India has 2 Confucius Institute and 1 Confucius Classroom. So which is University of Mumbai and Vellore Institute of Technology. These 2 university has the Confucius Institute. However, there's School of Chinese Language Kolkata is the place where the Confucius Classroom is open. So again, Central Board of Secondary Education, CBCS, also decided to introduce Mandarin Chinese in all its affiliated schools across India in 2011-12 session. But later on, it came to a complete halt by sending back all those 22 native Chinese teachers who were sent by the Chinese government to assist the Chinese language teaching in India. So, National Education Policy was introduced in 2020. Mandarin Chinese, which was there in the draft, got removed in the final version. And in July 2020, MSRD asked several higher educational institutions and Chinese language training centers to provide information about the activities of their Confucius Institute. Like such directives lead to the teachers and students of Mandarin Chinese face many challenges in teaching and learning the language. So now let's move on to the Northeast. So there are 3 universities in the entire Northeast which offer Mandarin Chinese courses. But Manipur University and Tezpur University are the only 2 universities which offer only one-year certificate course. And Sikkim University is the only one which offer degree course such as BA, MA, and PhD. So again, there is a university which is the English and Foreign Language University, Shillong campus, which is dedicated to foreign language. But unfortunately, so the university offers only the language from the European countries, English, French, German, Spanish, and Russian. But unfortunately, the university does not offer any Asian languages, like especially Chinese. So let's come to the point why Mandarin Chinese in the region. So this is the main argument of my paper. So most of the languages spoken in India, spoken in the Northeast region, belong to the Sino-Tibetan language family, which is a big, very big language family. So many of these languages share various common properties. For example, most of the languages are tonal in nature. So several cultural domains between India's Northeast region and part of China are similar in many aspects. For example, food habits. So according to Robert Lado's contrastive analysis hypothesis, so similar features of a native language and a target language facilitate the learning process, while the differences interfere the learning process. Yeah. So the students of the region have the potential to grasp and master various phonological features in a shorter period of time as compared to the students who come from other linguistic backgrounds. So many students of the Northeast region are unable to go to other states to do their studies due to their financial problems. As as it is a well-known fact that the northeastern states are lagging behind the other Indian states in terms of infrastructure, financial status, and so on. So various projects such as AICCS policy, BCIM corridor, and Trans-Asian Railways, etc. are all future projects which will be taking place right through India's Northeast region. So let us discuss some of the major challenges faced in the region. So limited number of universities or institute is obviously a challenge. As I've already mentioned, there are only 3, and out of the 3, 2 are offering only certificate course. So again, native Chinese teachers and availability of basic teaching materials is another problem. So Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, and part of Sikkim falls under the protected area, which is declared by the Ministry of Home Affairs, where the foreign nationals are required to get special permission on top of their normal visa to enter these places. Sorry. Yeah. So access to this, yeah. So access to this whole area of the state of Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram have been relaxed from being included in the protected areas as per a notification dated 30th December 2010, issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs for a period of 1 year, effective from 1st January 2010, which is extended from time to time. Currently, it is extended till 31st December 2022, which is about to expire. So, unfortunately, it is still mandatory for Chinese nationals to get prior permission from Ministry of Home Affairs to enter these states. So, this is still a big challenge. So, the diplomatic relations between India and China is another important factor which affects the teaching and learning of Mandarin Chinese in the region. So frequent escalation of tensions due to the border issues lead to the stagnation and even worsening of situation in the education sector. So again, in 2020, June, after the recent India-China border clash in Galwan Valley, the Ministry of Electronic and Information Technology, Government of India, banned 270 Chinese origin apps, including WeChat. As you already know that many, like most of the teachers and students who are teaching and learning Chinese use these apps. And they lose almost all the contacts, their contacts from China or their colleagues when Indian authorities suddenly banned WeChat. So to conclude, understanding each other's language and culture will facilitate good relation, trade and business between the two neighboring countries. So the real intention of Indian government is unlikely that to make India-China diplomatic relations deteriorate. However, the moves that Indian government makes shows that the Indian side is also not trying to improve. So avoiding China in the present scenario will not bring any results for India or any other country. So here we can remember one thing, one quote again by the famous Chinese philosopher and war strategist Sun Tzu. So keep your friend close, keep your enemy closer. So this is a quote by Sun Tzu. So I'm neither saying that China is our enemy nor acknowledge that China is our friend, but it is an undeniable fact that China is our immediate neighbor who is capable of influencing many neighboring countries. So the two most populous countries, not only in Asia, but also in the world, need to cooperate and understand each other. And the Northeast region can be a hub for foreign language, especially the Asian languages. So the two worlds cooperation and understanding cannot happen without knowing and understanding each other's language and culture. So with that keep in mind, understanding each other's language and culture would surely contribute to improve the relations between India and China. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Shyamkumar. Good presentation, and we many of us now know about the Chinese teaching and study in the Northeast region. So the problems that you have said facing the Northeast region is facing a lot of. It's not that only Northeast region, the Chinese language study in Northeast is facing. This is a common problem of all the places in India. So you have rightly pointed out that language studies not only learning the alphabets through the language. Language is a medium of interaction, of understanding each other's society, understanding each other's custom. You have finished your presentation with a positive note that let's hope that the days are not far when again the two countries through this language study will come close to each other. So our next speaker, I think she is now fine with the technique. She does not have any problem
Yes,
now.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
So next speaker is Ningshen, who will be speaking on the comparative analysis of some Chinese ethnic minorities and the Meiteis of Manipur. Please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Shabri ma'am and the AICC team for this opportunity to present my paper. Respected Chair, Professor Avijit Banerjee, our discussant, Sir Sadananda Singh, and everyone present here. My presentation will talk about folktales of the Meitei and Chinese in general, and of the Meiteis and some ethnic minorities of China in particular. So my work focuses on highlighting and analyzing certain themes of Meitei and Chinese folktales, which could help us to understand better and appreciate their respective culture. The shared understanding that we find in both the culture has been seen as a result of ethnic and cultural ties between the two cultures. By examining some strikingly parallel tales of the Meitei and some Mongkhmer and Tibeto-Burman-speaking ethnic minorities of China, the paper further expands the little-known ethnic affinities between this group. Now we come to interconnection between Manipur and China. Ethnically and culturally, Manipur share affinities with China on many fronts. The language used in Manipur and China belong to interrelated linguistic family, which is commonly shared by communities in Himalayan and Southeast region. Based on the linguistic affinities between Meiteis and Tibeto-Burman speaker, Garrison presumed that the ancestors of the Meiteis were kinsmen of the Tibeto-Burman and other Mongoloid groups habitating the upper courses of the Yangtze and Huanghe River in China in prehistoric time. Can we move on to the next slide? And the cultural context between the two regions seem apparent, as geographically Manipur share a common border with Myanmar, which lies in the south of China. Some of the ancient trade routes between South Asia and East and Southeast Asia that passes through Manipur in the 2nd century BC suggest the existence of cultural contact between the two regions. And the Chaitharol Kumbhava, the Royal Chronicles of Manipur, records the coming of Chinese to Manipur around the 16th century. It also records the existence of trade intercourse between Yunnan and Manipur and the coming of Chinese merchants in 1630. Now we come to comparative analysis. Next slide. Comparative analysis of tale will be seen under 3 different sections. In the first section, we will discuss about Meitei and Chinese folktales. The second section will be about Meitei and some Mongkhmer-speaking ethnic group. The last section will be about the Meitei and some Tibeto-Burman-speaking ethnic group of China. The paper has been structured in such a way that the gist of the tale will be presented whenever necessary, followed by comparative analysis, where the focus will be to highlight the shared understanding that exists in their culture. Under each section, I have made comparison of different groups of tale. Now we come to the first section, Meitei and Chinese folktale, comparison 1. So parallel can be drawn between Meitei mythical tale of Numit Kappa shooting the sun and Yomangba and Tao Tingmang, the two sons of Meitei king, dredging the channel of the biggest and longest river in Manipur, the Iril and the Imphal, with the Chinese mythical tales of Hou Yi shooting down 9 sun and Kun and Yu regulating river and preventing flood. Both the tale manifests the arduous struggle of the primitive man in subduing and overcoming the uncontrollable forces of nature. Comparison to, next slide, the realistic and objective outlook of the Meiteis and Chinese can be found in the tales of Fast Grew the Crops and Hanuba Hanubi Pantava, the planting of arum by the old man and woman. In the Chinese tale, an impatient man longed for the crops in his field to grow quickly. Therefore, he pulled the seedlings and made them tall. In the Meitei tales, the old couple listened to the suggestion of some monkeys to use different methods of planting, which will make the plant grow faster. Thus, they boil and wrap the arum in a banana leaf before planting them. The Chinese made reference to this tale when describing an over-anxious person who is eager for quick and instant result, and they are a lesson for those people who depart from universal law of nature. Like the Chinese, the Meitei adhere to pragmatism in their outlook of life. For instance, the Meitei believe that a crop that has been properly irrigated, weeded, and manured is bound to yield a bumper harvest. Comparison 3. The Chinese tale of a man who lost his axe and started suspecting that his neighbor's son had stolen it is another example of Chinese realism. The man in the story kept a keen watch on the neighbor's son and felt that each and every move of the neighbor's son resembled those of a thief. But later the man found his axe, which he actually left on a hill while chopping the firewood. This tale is behind the origin of the well-known Chinese idiom Sung Shi Chi Chu Fa, to proceed from reality, actual facts. It highlights the importance of seeking truth from facts to be the starting point to understand problem, take decision, and do things. The Meitei tale of Tapta can also be seen as an example of Meitei realism. Once a mother tried to pacify a weeping child by the mention of tiger, but the child kept crying. The child got frightened and stopped crying. Only when the mother utters a meaningless word, tapta. A tiger who came to eat the horse thought that tapta must be more powerful than itself. Meanwhile, a thief came to steal one of the horses. In the darkness, the thief selected the horse and rode out on it by pulling its ear. The tiger, by fear of detection, did not show any sign of resistance. At daybreak, the thief realized that his horse was nothing else but a tiger. In great fear, he climbed up a tree and threw himself away into a big hole in it. The tiger narrated his fear to the jackal, and both came to the tree. On seeing the man's head sticking out of the hole, they cried and ran away as fast as they could. The tale satirized the unknown and unfounded fear on the part of the tiger and the jackal, and can be seen as a lesson to delve into the objective reality of a thing before reaching a conclusion. Besides the above analysis, some even assert that the Meitei tale, Tapta, must have originated from China. Parallel has been drawn between this tale and a Chinese proverb: "He who rides a tiger is afraid to dismount." The Proverbs has been interpreted to mean if you set out on a dangerous venture, leaving it halfway will be more dangerous than carrying it on till its end. Comparison 4. In the Chinese tale of Mr. Tungo and the Wolf and the Meitei tale of Haudong Lambeba, Monk Cat, we find a moral lesson of helping a wicked, harmful, and treacherous being. These tales are prevalent in many other cultures too, but emphasis can be given on how these tales can be related to the Chinese and Meitei belief system. In case of the Chinese, it is related to the philosophy of Mozi, which advocate universal love without distinction. This tale ridicules Mr. Tungo, a believer of Mohism, as a person unable to distinguish friends and enemies. While in case of Meiteis, in the socio-ethical code of conduct prepared by Y. Puthichandra from a study of different traditional myths and legends of the land, there is a reference to have a tender heart for the poor and the weak, and a lion heart against the cruel and the wicked. Next slide. Now we come to the second section, Meitei and some Mongma speaking ethnic group. There are two groups. Comparison 1. The shooting downs of multiple suns and moon is a dominant theme in Chinese folktale. It is also found among the tales of many ethnic minorities of China. This tale generally followed a uniform sequence. Once there were multiple suns and moon scorching the earth, the hero shoot down the sun and the moon, leaving the sky with one sun and one moon, and then the remaining sun and moon went into hiding, and the entire world became dark. The sun and the moon came out from their hiding place after much persuasion. The theme of shooting down the sun appears in Meitei folktales Numit Kappa, with slight variation from Chinese tale. The difference we find is that in the Meitei tale, multiple sun and moon is absent. In the Meitei tale, there were two brothers who rose and set alternately. The younger brother is the sun, and the older brother is also as bright as the sun. Thus, there were bright light during the day and the night. This instance of bright light during day and night and the absence of dark night is surprisingly found in one of China's ethnic minority tale. The tale of Hua ethnic minority, separation of day and night, bear close resemblance with the Meitei tale. Like in the Meitei tale, in the tale of Hua ethnic minority, it is mentioned that in the beginning, the sun and moon rose and set alternately, and there were only days and no night. Comparison 2. Another striking thematic parallels we found in the folktales of the Meitei and Mongma speaking ethnic groups of China pertains to community works or responsibility. Collective effort and unity are common theme in almost all the folktales of different culture. However, the cultural uniqueness that we will find in the following tale is that the focus is much more on human follies, such as the everlasting condemn and tragic consequence of those individuals who escape from responsibility concerning the community. In the blank tale, the great god Kumiya assembles all the birds and animals together to have a meeting at which he consulted about the matter of sun going into hiding, leaving the world cold and dark. Everyone except Aduma, the black-capped patriot, and Yizimiguli, the white-capped patriot, agreed to go to the remote place despite hardship. Ever since, the black-capped patriots and the white-capped patriots become symbol of laziness, fear of hardship. In the Hua tale, lazy wind monkey, there was a severe drought, and the monkeys decided to open up a ditch to draw drinking water. One monkey refused to join the work and wait for rainwater. When the ditch was completed, all the monkeys drew drinking water from it. The monkey who refused to join the group work waited for the rain to come, but the rain didn't fall for a long time. In order to quench its thirst, the monkey drank wind. From then on, whenever dry season comes, this particular monkey cried for drinking water. Everyone then called this monkey the lazy wind monkey. In the Meitei tale, Nongobi Kiwari, except the bird Nongobi, all the birds join Yomangwa and Tautingmang in clearing the river course. When some birds asked Nongobi to join them at work, she replied that she is breastfeeding her child. On the following day too, she replied that she was washing her clothes. Thus, Nongobi remained aloof instead of joining the work by offering one plea after another. As she did not join the cleaning of the course of the river, it is said that she never drank water from the river. She thus relies on rainwater for her survival. There is a traditional belief that if she drinks water from the river, her rum will get decomposed. So the above tales project community value, wherein cooperation and participation of the whole community is the hallmark. Yeah. It highlights the social value of collectivism over individualism in both the culture. However, as discussed above, the distinctiveness of ethics in this tale is that the focus is much more on human follies. Major focus has been given on those individuals who escape from responsibility towards community. They were radical and sidelined with consequence of lasting condemn. The remarkably parallel incident that we find in this tale is that the antagonists in both the Meitei and the Wa tales escaped from community work and as a consequence relied on rainwater for their survival all their life. Now we come to the last section, Meitei and some Tibeto-Burman speaking ethnic group. Comparison 1. The tale, the dove and the rooster of the Yi ethnic group bear resemblance with the above discussed Wa tale, the lazy wind monkey, and the Meitei tale, Nongobi Kiwari. So the core plot in these tales remain the same. The only difference is that in the Yi tale, we just find two characters, the dove and the rooster. Comparison to the tale, marriage proposal of a fellow with only head of the Lahu ethnic group bear resemblance with the Meitei tale, Makok, meaning head. Despite some variation, the core plot in these two tales remain the same. Both the tale is about a poor widowed woman and her physically challenged son. The son in the Lahu tale had no body and limbs but just a head. He was called Head Baby. While in the Meitei tale, the son had very tiny limbs and body but a large head. He was called Makok, meaning head. In both the tales, when the son grew up, they decided to help their aging mother in running the family. Their mother was reluctant initially, but later agreed to their son's request. The head baby in Lahu tale, with the help of supernatural power, was able to do all the field work efficiently, and the life of the mother and the son became better day by day. In the Meitei tale too, Makok, with the help of a magic ring, could get all the things he needed. He was able to eradicate their poverty, and in both the tales, the abnormal son got married with the king's daughter and lived happily ever after. Now we come to the conclusion. The research finding shows that there is an integral connection between folktales and the value system of its society. It is observed that folktales produce and propagate the belief and value systems of society. Through the analysis of this folktale, the paper brings out the shared understanding that exists in the Meitei and Chinese culture. It is logical to argue that those shared understanding arise from ethnic and cultural ties between them. What stands out in the analysis is the striking parallels that we find in the tales of Meitei and some Hmong and Tibeto-Burman speaking ethnic groups of China. One likely explanation is that they might have been handed down over generation from a common source by Hmong and Tibeto-Burman speaker who migrated to Manipur from China. The research finding further substantiate the earlier research finding about the connection of the Meitei with these ethnic groups from China. The archaeological findings of the excavation in Tharon Cave, Nabachik in Manipur, points to the existence of Hmong-speaking Australoid Mongoloid people in Manipur who migrated here before the advent of Tibeto-Burman speaker. So the present study shows the explanatory potential of folk literature in establishing ethnic ties between distinctive culture. It also clears the value of folk literature the view to demonstrate what ecology and relation between some approach to the study.
I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Yeah. Thank you, Ningshen. Very good presentation, and the Tibeto-Burman people speaking Tibeto-Burman and the connectivity with Manipur, with the people of Manipur and the Northeast region. Good comparison, and folk tales definitely are very important for tracing the history of the country. So if you look at the folk tales of, if you look at the Chinese and Nagas also, you can see a close affinity with the natural world are bestowed with abundant source of connectiveness, both the animal and the plant kingdom. So the entire Northeast have a kind of connectivity with China's bordering areas. So now I will request our this discussant, who is Professor Shyamkumar Ningthoujam, Professor M. Sadananda Singh, who is an assistant professor, Dhanamanjuri University, Imphal. Please.
Thank you very much, respected chairperson, Professor Banerjee, distinguished paper presenter. At the outset, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizer for giving me such an opportunity. And I am honored and I feel very proud to be with you. So before I come to the central point of my observations, let me share some of my views with the interface between Manipur and China. The interface between Manipur and China may be studied from different aspects. One, mythological, historical, cultural, behavior, and so on. So Kunlun is believed to be the origin of Chinese civilizations. In the same way, the Kobru Mountain is believed to be the origin of Meiteis civilization, Manipur civilizations. And it is believed that Kunlun is the abode of God and goddesses. At the same time, here in Manipur also, the Kobru Mountain is believed to be the abode of God and goddesses. And the Kunlun Mountain of China is considered to be the ladder to the heaven. At the same time, here, Manipur also, Kobru Mountain is believed to be the ladder to the heavens. So these affinities have been seen in mythological point, in the mythology of Meiteis and Chinese mythology. And Manipur has been one of the trade and migration routes between Southeast Asia and Central Asia countries. And during the earlier period of time, many people came to Manipur from east, at the same time from the west also. These peoples are known as Nongpo Haram and Nongchub Haram. Nongpo Haram refer to the people who came from the east, and the Nongchub Haram refer to the people who came from west. So the modern peoples, the Meitei peoples or other ethnic groups settled in Manipur in 21st century are the descendant of these peoples. And next historical aspect, we can take an examples. In one presentation is also mentioned about the visit of my coming of Chinese to Manipur in 16th century. The Ningthoujam, who ruled Manipur from 1597 to 1652. His name is also called Khagemba. The literal meaning of Khagemba is conqueror of Chinese. He defeated Chokfa Hongdoi of Yunnan province in 1630. The information about this will be found in all manuscripts of written in archaic Manipuri language, Ningthoujam Lambuwang, and G.E. Harvey books, A History of Burma, published in 1926. So Chinese were known as Khagi by the peoples of Manipur in ancient time. So Khagemba means the conqueror of Chinese people. So the making of brick for construction of houses were started during the time, and art making brick was learned from Chinese by Meiteis for the first time in Manipur. So let me come to the central point of my observations. First, paper presenter Daveirou Lanamai. She has presented a very, very important and very thought-provoking presentations, and we have been educated a lot from your presentation. Congratulations for your thought-provoking presentation, Professor Daveirou Lanamai. As we know, social media has been playing a vital role in the progress of globalizations. In the process of globalization, we have two aspects. One is internationalizations. Another is localizations. The internationalization part of the Chinese cultures have been successfully done by these two particular giant YouTuber or to say bloggers. And the question is that how the people of Manipur use the Chinese elements which have been gathered from their blogs in the process of localization. It is the questions. So I have some problem here. Oh, okay, let me continue. Nothing happened. So the influence of these two bloggers are reflected in different aspects of Manipuri lifestyles. For example, there are many YouTubers, local YouTubers in Manipur, in their blogs. The influence of these two particular Chinese bloggers have been reflected. For example, the village life in Manipur. You can see on the on YouTube also. And another things, another aspects of influence of these two bloggers are seen in day-to-day life also. The Meiteis people started professing Hinduism during the time of King Garib, and for a long time we stopped eating meat. We stopped cooking meat in our kitchens. But nowadays it has been started, and people started eating different kinds of meat, which is not permitted by our customs earlier. So internationalization, localization, how the Chinese cultural elements, both tangible and intangible, have been used through the localization process of globalizations. And the imitation or adaptation of Li, Ziqi, and Dianxi are also visible in some Manipuri YouTubers' blog, for example, the village life in Manipur and other also I have already mentioned. And as mentioned in the presentation, has been met with the empirical data collected from the different youths of Manipur. It would be more valuable contributions if the names and age of the informant, that of interview conducted, the community they belong to are reflected in the presentations. And it will make your presentation more scientific and more valuable. It is my humble suggestions to you. And one of the reasons for appreciating these two Chinese bloggers video by the people of Manipur may be studied from the emotional point of view, at the same time psychological point of view also. The idyllic rural lives of Manipur have been marginalized with impact of modernization, urbanization, and globalization. So I grew up in the setting of a village life, and I swam in the river, and I had the space of working on the paddy fields. But today, all the paddy fields have been occupied by government, and construction of buildings have been under progress. So I have a feeling, and I remember those days of my childhood with a sense of nostalgia. So when I watch such kind of videos, such kind of blogs, I love to enjoy, and I just want to go back to my childhood. That is why it may be one of the reasons why people of Manipur are appreciating these two Chinese blogger video. It is my simple observations, and all the materials you have put up in your presentation are so important and very, very valuable, I should say. The next presentation made by Professor Shyamkumar Ningthoujam. His presentations, all the findings have been presented from the perspective of emic and etic categories of the studies. So well presented and well structured paper, I should say. The focal point of his presentation, why Mandarin Chinese in the Northeast regions. Here, I would like to share one of the proverbs of Thai peoples, that is, to know one more language is to have one more eye. So to know Chinese is very important in this globalized world. And from the perspective of folkloristics, I would like to say the Chinese study is a journey to explore the treasure of human civilizations. So China is a cradle of human civilizations. China is very important to what understanding the history of human civilization. That is why the study of China is very important. It may be considered to be a journey to explore the treasure of human civilization, I should say. Historical accounts of Chinese studies in India have been given in a very systematic way in his presentations. The obstacles, problem encountered by the students and teachers of Chinese are also highlighted. I wish to know the process.
Apologies to interrupt the discussant here. We would actually want to complete the session by 3:30. So this is just to inform.
Okay, thank you. Let me finish. Okay. The obstacles and problem encountered by the student and the teacher of Chinese are also highlighted. We wish to know the prospects. As mentioned in the paper, that most of the students belonging to this particular land are from financially weaker sections. So apart from the student, the parents also want to know the placement of the students after the completion of their study. It is, if it is reflected in the presentations, it will be more valuable, and we would like to know from your answer. So the last, okay, may I continue or may I wind up?
You just wind up because time probably very constrained. So please.
Okay, thank you, sir. But few points here of our last presentation. In folkloristics, we have to focus on 3 steps of study. One is the collection, and next is classifications, and third interpretations. So in classification part, I would like to suggest to the paper presenter Ningshen that Numit Kappa, the shooting of suns, is very the similarities between Chinese tales and Manipuri Numit Kappa. Yeah, there are so many similarities as we know, but the narrative from Numit Kappa is not a folktale at all. Folktales is not a synonymous word for oral narratives. In oral narratives, we have 3 genres. One is myth, second is legend, and third one is folktales. So the Chinese tale may be fitted into the category of folktales, but Manipuri tales, Numit Kappa, should be fitted into the category of rituals nature. So there are many things I would like to say, but at last I would like to congratulate all the 3 paper readers for your illuminating and thought-provoking presentation. So I have been given a limited time. That is why let me wind up here, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Singh, for your comments. For time constraint, we cannot ask you to speak more. Okay. So may I now, Anushka, please see the question and please read out the questions and just see.
Sure. So in the interest of time, I'll read out the 5 questions that we have received on the chat box, and I'll request the speakers to address them collectively. So we have one question for Dr. Daveirou Lanamai, which is that has there been an attempt by any blogger from Manipur or Northeast India to influence Chinese views of India, especially Northeast India? Then we have 2 questions for Professor Ningthoujam, which are, what kind of demand is there for Mandarin lessons in Northeast India? Are the classes oversubscribed? And what are the expectations of such learners to gain from learning Mandarin? And the second question addressed to him is that given the recent controversy surrounding Confucian institutes as emerging hubs of Chinese espionage, propaganda, and targeting of dissident activities in foreign countries, which led to the closure of several institutions in US universities, have such concerns also affected the opening of Confucian institutes or Chinese language institutions in India? And then we have two questions for Professor Ningshen. One is from Professor Patricia Broy. She asks, you have deployed this comparison of Manipuri and Chinese folk tales with a view to demonstrate what one calls a genealogical relationship between two culture zones. But some approaches to the study of myth and folk tales argue for potential parallels across culture regions uh, based on structure of the narrative. How have such writers influenced your approach in any way? And the second question for Professor Ningshen is, were some of the Chinese origin Meitei folk tales also transmitted further to the plains of Assam, as the tale of Tapta is exactly similar to the Assamese folk tale Dighol Thengia, which is long-legged being? If the speakers would like me to repeat any of the questions, I'll be happy to do that. May I hand over the floor to Professor Ningshen and then go in the reverse order? Thank you.
Yes, when we talk about potentially parallel tales or identical tales found in different culture, this borrowing across culture is very much seen in many tales. For example, Manipur and Assam, since they are a neighboring state, so like borrowing across culture is will definitely be there. That's one point. And like in my paper, I have tried to highlight, the shared understanding between the Chinese and Meitei in general, and about this Meitei and some of the ethnic minorities in particular, like the sheer understanding that is found between Meitei and Chinese can be seen as a result of historical or cultural context, and then the strikingly parallel tales that we found between Meitei and some of the ethnic minority can be seen as a result of common inheritance, as coming down from a common source down the generation, by the speaker of Tibeto-Burman or Monkhmer speaking ethnic group migrating to Manipur from China. That's it. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you. Professor Ningthoujam, if I may ask you to address the questions. Professor Shyamkumar Ningthoujam, am I audible? Maybe not. We could then move on to Professor Daveirou Lanamai. Ma'am, would you please answer the question?
Okay, sure. Thank you. Before Shyamkumar comes in, repeating my time. As we have time constraint, I would first thank the discussant for his valuable comments and feedbacks. I will surely incorporate them in my paper that I'll be developing soon. And coming to the question from the chat box, most of the blogs that I have followed from Northeast and are based on food, lifestyles, and fashion. And like even the blogs of these Chinese bloggers, Li Zhiqi and Dianxi Xiaoge, their focus was on propagating or to spread their regional or their rural lifestyles, food habits, and also through the spread of this. Through the spread of their blogs internationally, they gained popularity, and even to the extent that they were able to get the attention of the government. But I don't think their first target was to get such attention from the government but to uphold their culture through their blogs. So likewise, when I observe the vlogs, most of the vlogs from Northeast or from India, most of their focus, because we cannot deny the fact of this economic sector, because they will also be focusing on how to earn or how to make money from their vlogs. And moreover, some of the purposes that they have during performing their vlogs are mainly focused on, like I've mentioned, food, lifestyle, culture, and when I say like travel blog. So I will have to explore more, if at all we will find certain blogs that is related to see whether the influence of Chinese views are there in such blogs. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And Professor Shyamkumar, if
Yes, ma'am. The first question is the expectation of the students in the Northeast region. Okay. As I've already said that most of the students in the Northeast region are from the financially weaker background. So they expect, to have a job after learning this Chinese. So learning for 1 year, like 1 year certificate course in Chinese and getting a job, as you all know, that it's very difficult, right? So they expect at least like BA degree. So this is what they expect. I hope the first question. So the second question is about the close down of Confucius Institute in the US and in Europe. Yeah, it's true. It's correct. And even the newly elected Prime Minister of UK, the Rishi Sunak, in his campaign, he said that he will close down all the 30 Confucius Institute from US. From UK. But till now, it is still there. But let's see. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that we also should have more Confucius Institute and Confucius classrooms. But what I am trying to say is, we should have, I don't know, any form of medium so that we can learn the language. There is Taiwan. Obviously, there is a problem with China and whatever. There is political problems. That's the other thing. I don't want to go through that. And there is another country, Singapore. So Chinese is also an official language of Singapore. So we can have a relation with Singapore, and then we can develop many things to study Chinese. Yeah, I think I hope I answer all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we'd be happy to entertain one more question from Professor Pahi Saikia, who's raised her hand. Ma'am, if you could please.
Oh, okay, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Oh, okay, very quickly.
Okay, ma'am. Sorry.
We don't have much time. This question is for Daveirou Lanamai.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very interesting paper, Ms. Lanamai. My only question is, how do you situate your work in the broader theoretical framework of communication and social media network analysis, particularly in terms of understanding, the kind of one-way relationship between the bloggers and the consumers that you are trying to understand in your paper? And a very interrelated question is, there are various research tools that are available and that we can use to examine the kind of content that is available on social media platforms, even the vlogs. So my question is, what kind of data did you use to understand the impact of bloggers and perhaps the social attitudes that you are trying to understand and the perceptions of people in Manipur? The second question is for Ningshen on folklores. It's a very interesting paper, and I learned how you are trying to draw the similarities between India and China, and the way you have laid it out. Now, given the political discourse of Manipur, which is centered around the hill and valley divide between different ethnic groups in Manipur, as well as the ethnic, linguistic, and religious differences between the people inhabiting the hills on the one side and the Imphal Valley on the other. So my question is, how do you look at the process of differentiation in Manipur on the one hand, and the kind of cultural affinity that you are trying to draw, and the close ties in the value systems between the ethnic Meiteis of Manipur and the ethnic minorities of China, using the lens of either folk tales or, or any other kind of mythological resources that you have tried to draw in your paper. So very quickly, these were the two questions I had.
Thank you, ma'am. Professor Lanamai, if I may request you to answer these questions very briefly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will try to quickly go through it. Ma'am, thank you so much for the question. The first, when we talk about the theoretical part, I'm mainly looking into the parasocial relationship, how these viewers and the bloggers are the relation is formed through these platforms. So, and the second part, looking at the how the viewers from Manipur, I'm mainly depending on the people who receive these blogs from the platform of YouTube. Of course, there are other platforms also, but since we are not accessible to the Chinese platforms, we depend on the YouTubes. And also this first interaction came when they started asking me certain questions related to Chinese language, Chinese culture, since they knew that I am a Chinese language learner and also I'm teaching Chinese. So that was how it opened up for me to interact with them and then find out their curiosity about the blogs and also about the culture and the people of China. I hope in this brief manner I'm able to meet some of your distinct questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ms. Ningshen. Ms. Ningshen, am I audible to you? Would you like to answer the question?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Pahi, ma'am, for the comment. Like, I would like to say that the different ethnic group inhabiting Manipur and those in Yunnan, like when we look at the outset, nothing much is there, like between the Meiteis and the Chinese, nothing much is there. But when we look deeper, through some of the oral narrative, the commonalities that survive in their oral tradition, that how would I say, that has been
I get it, Ningshen. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, ma'am, I could not, like.
Thank you so much to the speakers for answering the questions. I would like to hand over the floor back to Avijit sir.
Okay. Thank you. I first want to congratulate all the three speakers for their wonderful presentation, and also want to congratulate the discussant. One thing, if we look at the three presentations, that through folktales, through these bloggers, and through the language learning, all these three have been much optimistic about understanding, about more other channels to open for understanding China, for the mutual understanding. So this session, I think, definitely a very interesting one, where all the three speakers have put their optimistic tone through their presentation, one through the language study, through the society, the blog, which is really a very interesting one among a lot of teenagers now, and also through the folk tales, which has been for thousands of years, there has been connectivity between the two countries. So this session, we end with a positive note and looking forward for mutual understanding, keeping intact our interest. So finally, I want to thank also the ICS for organizing this kind of wonderful session, which is definitely a learning process for all the scholars and students who are studying Chinese. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we come to a very fruitful ending to the second thematic panel of the 15th AICCS. I express my sincere gratitude to the chair, the speakers, and the discussant for their remarks and for patiently addressing the questions and comments posed by the audience. I also express my sincere gratitude to the audience for interacting with the speakers and for tuning into the session. We hope you will also find time to attend our next session on China, India, and Southeast Asia policies and perspectives, which is set to commence in 7 to 8 minutes. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anushka. Anushka,